Okay, let's begin with today's test. I'll share my screen with the questions. Where are the questions? What's happening today? Oh, okay. Let us begin. Here you have your test on your screens. Please make sure that all of you are timing yourselves. You have to take just 2.5 minutes to post your answers and make sure that every one of you is timing himself and herself. So let's begin. Those who are attending the class for the first time, in case there is anyone, please make sure you're timing yourself and then you're posting your answers in the chat box. Then we'll have a discussion on each question twice, and then you can ask your questions. Avoid asking repetition so that you're able to cover all the questions. So here is the first question, 2.5 minutes to solve. And then please post your answers in the chat box. All right, should be done. Try that if you can post your answers by selecting Language Academy in your chat box rather than posting your answers to everyone. I feel it would be more convenient to everybody. And please post your answers in one go, don't post them separately. Let's see what this says. Bilingual Education Act, US legislation that provided federal grants to school districts for the purpose of dash educational programs for children. So looking at grammar, after of comes ing form of verb. And what is the noun? Purpose of dash educational programs. So first of all, let's eliminate anything which is not ing form. Now we are left with two. So do we establish educational programs or do we form educational programs? Form would be just like forming on paper, that we have made this program. But here they are talking about bringing them into action. This act was made for the purpose of establishing educational programs for children with limited English speaking ability. So establishing would be to bring into effect, not just forming and they stay on the paper forever. So that would be the difference between forming and establishing. And then they say it was the first time that the US government officially dashed that these students need specialized instruction. So it was the first time. What time are we referring to is January to 1968. So that is why we need past tense. Anything which is not past tense should be eliminated. Recognize is present tense, so that would not be our answer. So now they say it was the first time that the US government officially dashed that these students need specialized instruction. So US government admitted this thing, acknowledged this thing, or expressed. Express is a verb that we use with feelings. Express anger, happiness, sadness, anxiety. So feelings go with expressions. So that cannot be the answer. Out of admitted and acknowledged. Admitted is also one of the meanings of accepted, and acknowledged also means accepted. But admitted has one more meaning when we say this person is admitted in the hospital. So admission kind of thing also is conveyed with the meaning, with the word admitted. And how we have to think is we have to select a word which has lesser number of meanings, because the lesser the number of meanings a word has, the more specific it is to your answer. So that is why we'll go with acknowledged, which means accepted only. Please don't post the answers. Please don't post anything in the chat box while the explanation is going on. So it was the first time that the US government accepted this fact that these students need special instruction. Beginning in the late 19th century, dash of immigrants entered the United States and many could not speak English. So when many cannot speak English, we cannot say few came and out of few many could not speak English. So we have to go with something which conveys something more than many. And more than many would be millions. Because some also means not many, few also means not many. And much goes with uncountable things. So we have to go with millions of people came and out of them many could not speak English. Some state governments pushed for assimilation, requiring non-English speaking adults to take English language classes. Children went to public schools where they were totally dashed in the English language and often punished for speaking their native language. This is a past statement. Children went to schools, and the grammar says with were should come ed form of verb, and the verb that we want to select should justify the preposition in. So these are all the analysis things that you have to do before you look at the options. Only then you will be the closest to the right answer. So anything which is not ed form, first of all, we can eliminate that. Now we have two options: immersed in, concerned in. So what preposition we use with concerned is about. I am concerned about the result. I am concerned about his health. But with immersed, we say in. And immersed here would convey that they were totally involved in English language. California and Texas established public schools to accommodate the increase in Spanish-speaking children from Mexico. The sentence is absolutely complete. Public schools is a noun. So we need an adjective here. What kind of public schools did they establish? Different, disconnected, segregated, or divided. See, the words divided and disconnected are negative words. But we don't want to say that these California and Texas, they wanted to do something negative with children. So we cannot go with divided and disconnected. Different public schools does not solve the purpose. Different public schools will mean that the schools that they made were different from the public schools that were already there. Different can also mean different building. Different can also mean different style, different infrastructure, different number of teachers. So different is a very general word. So we have to go with segregated. Why? Because segregated is always used when you want to highlight any kind of, for example, religion difference, racial difference, or any kind of difference that can make a differentiation between two groups of human beings on any basis, race, color, gender, religion. So any basis, then we use the word segregated or segregation in that case. So if you carefully see, they wanted to highlight Spanish speaking children. That means children who were a different group than the other children based on language. So that is why we have to go with segregated. So it's very important that when the explanation is going on, your sole purpose of listening to the explanation is to take notes, as many as you can. Notes about any new word, notes about any new explanation, notes about how you selected the answer and how I selected the answer. If there is any difference, means there is something for you to note down. Because the more number of methods you will know, the more will be the probability of you. And then we were at number 4. So after were comes ed form of verb, and our verb should match with the preposition in. So that is why we had to go with immersed in, because concerned goes with about. And the last one, segregation, segregated, segregating. Any form of segregate is a word that we use when we want to differentiate on the basis of on any basis, be it religion, race, caste, gender, so language. Because here we wanted to differentiate among students, particularly speaking this particular language. So that is why we'll go with segregated. Right? Any confusions, anyone? The fourth one with helping verbs, is, was, were, comes, third form of verb, and then we have to match the verb with the preposition in. So looking at both the things, we have to go with immersed because concerned goes with about. Any other confusions, anyone? Anything that we did not talk about and you have a query about that? I don't know the meaning of embodiment, but it is a noun for sure, because embodiment cannot be a work to be done. So it's not a verb. So it's not important for you to even look at something which is not a verb, Rajni. Guys, see, you have to be a bit more active when the explanation is going on, because we won't be able to repeat things more than 2-3 times, right? So admitted also has a meaning of admission to somewhere, like admitted in the hospital. That is why admitted cannot be the second one. And the fourth one, with helping verbs come ed form. So with were can come only two options, immersed or concerned. And then concerned comes with about, but we have in written. So immersed goes with in, just like involved goes with in. Yes, so after of comes ing form of verb if you need a verb. If you don't need a verb, then this rule will not apply. Sometimes after of you need a noun, sometimes after of you need an adverb. So the rule is if you need a verb, you will always go with ing form of verb, right? So here you have question number 2 on your screens. You have 2.5 minutes to complete this and post your answers. No worries, Zoya, that's absolutely fine. It was just what is it called? Reminder. Nothing. If it's about an issue, then obviously you can. Second question, 2.5 minutes, and then post your answers, please. Good, very well done. So the first one says, still another major dash of pollutants is industry. So even if you don't look at the options, you should think yourself first that major dash of pollutants is industry. So what is industry for pollutants? Pollutants come from the industry. That means after from always comes the source of something. So pollutants come from the industry. That means industry is the source of pollutants. So the word source always comes with where something comes from. Origin we use with places. For example, you must have read sentences like this festival originated in Japan in the 17th century. So origin is used with the area, place of something. And root alone cannot come. Root is an adjective. So we'll say still another major root cause of pollutants. So root comes with cause as a noun. Root alone is not the noun. And rising, nobody has written because it doesn't make sense. Untreated industrial chemical waste can dash the normal biological activity of rivers, and many of chemicals react with water to raise the acidity of rivers to a point where water becomes corrosive enough to destroy living organisms. Now, why do we think, if we think, why have they given us such a long sentence? They could have just finished saying that untreated industrial chemical waste can dash the normal biological activity of rivers. Because you can understand that untreated waste is definitely doing something to the normal activity of the rivers. Still, they wanted to give you a hint that whatever word you select here, make sure that the word conveys negativity. And that is why they have given us so many words. So that you don't select change, that chemical waste can change the biological activity, because change is a neutral word. It doesn't convey negativity. But alter means change, and alter is most probably used in negative stances. So that is why this additional information was given to give you a hint that we need negative form of verb. So untreated waste can alter. Alter means negatively change the biological activity, because of which water can reach to a level where it can destroy the living organisms. An example of this is the formation of sulfuric acid from the sulfur-laden residue of coal mining operations. Dash the upper limits for concentrations of unquestionable toxic chemicals have been established for drinking water. No general rules exist for the treatment of industrial waste. So there are two parts in the sentence. How do we come to know is from the comma in between. When you have a comma in between, means the before comma part and after comma part are two different parts, and we need to understand the relationship between them. You can always skip the examples, because reading the names of some chemicals or names of anything is not going to make a difference to the answer. So they say upper limits for concentrations of chemicals have been established. Means we have some limit for toxic chemicals. The limits have been established for toxic chemicals. And the other side says there are no rules. Means these two parts are opposite of each other. One side says yes, we have limits. Other side says no, we don't have rules. So whenever we have contrast in the statement, we always go with although or despite. And how to select out of although and despite? Although comes when we have a noun or subject plus verb, both the things. And despite comes when you only have noun or gerund form, that is ing form of verb. No verb is there. No verb, no first form or past form of verb can be there if you are using despite. Now here, if we look at the noun is concentrations and the verb is established. Concentrations have been established. Means we have both noun plus verb. So that is why our answer should be although and not despite. Right, the next one says, moreover, even in cases where a government ban checks the further discharge of certain dangerous substances into waterways. So ban is a noun. What is the verb that we always use with ban is imposed, because bans are imposed. Ban is not defined, ban is not urged, ban is never started, ban is always imposed. Established, the bit negative version of established is imposed. Like we use imposed with imposing fines, penalties, bans. So all negative things come with the verb imposed when they are put into action. And they say checks the further discharge of certain dangerous substances into waterways. The chemicals may dash in the environment for years. Now grammar says with may comes first form of verb and we have to match it with years. Chemicals may dash in the environment for years. How many first forms we have? And it will be always without s with the modals. Can, may, might, would, could, should always come with first form of verb without s. So we cannot say chemicals may keep in the environment. Keep means they will keep something else. Chemicals may continue or chemicals may persist. Persist is a better form, better academic version of continue only. The meaning of persist is continue to exist. So when you want to put all these three things, then you can go with persist over continue. That chemicals may continue to exist in the environment for years. Such is the case with PCBs, the chlorinated hydrocarbon byproducts of various industrial processes that were discharged US waterways until the late 19th centuries. So with the verb discharge, we always go with into. There was a hint also given in the last sentence, discharge with into the environment. And here also we have to go with discharge into the waterways. Waterways means rivers or something, rivers, lakes, and anything can be a waterway. Right? The meaning of urge is to push something. We even use it when we want to say motivate or push something or someone to do something, that is urged. And those who are new into the classes, if you have not gone through the grammar videos in which we have explained all the connectors, prepositions, verbs, adjectives, nouns, Shakila, anybody else who has not done this, you have to please go through the grammar videos that we have posted on your Language Academy portals. On the dashboard, when you click reading, there are 2 videos from my side and you have to watch those 2 videos before or as you can before watching these classes, before attending these classes. So if you have watched them, lot of things will be already clear to you, like the differences between despite and although and connectors and prepositions. So it is being explained in detail over there, which we generally don't get a chance to go into that much detail during the questions, right? So I'll repeat this thing. Pollutants come from the industry. That means the industry is the source of pollutants. And the second one, we needed first form of verb. After can comes V1. It will always be without S. And the sentence tells us that it should be a negative verb. So we go with alter and not change. The third one, although, because the sentence has contrast in it. One side it says yes, the other part says no. And we have both subject and verb. That is why we'll go with although. Despite comes when you have only subject and no verb. Then bans, fines, penalties always go with the verb impose. Next one, chemicals may dash in the environment. Persist, the meaning of persist is continue to exist. So if you put continue to exist in some blank, you will always get persist in the options and you have to go with that. And the last one, the verb discharge always goes with the preposition into. Right? I hope it's clear now. So I'll show you at the end of the class if you're unable to find the videos on your dashboards. Third question on your screen, you have 2.5 minutes. No, alter conveys negativity. Change does not convey any negativity. Change the neutral word. Mira. 2.5 minutes for the third question and then post your answers, please. Okay, should be done by now. Anybody left to post the answer? Why is the third one so wrong? Philosophy is dash with the most general questions about the nature of things. So because often is an adverb and you can always eliminate adverbs when you're reading your sentences to understand more about grammar. Because it is a helping verb and the rule says with helping verbs come past form of verb. So philosophy is relating cannot be the answer. Concerned is past, dealt is past, connected is past, and after the blank we have with. So our verb should match with the verb with the word with. Connected cannot be the answer because connected comes with to. Dealt with is a combination, but dealt with is used with problems are dealt with, concerns are dealt with. So something which is a problem, then we use the word dealt with. Here we are talking about philosophy, it's not a problem. So we'll say philosophy is concerned with the most general questions about the nature. And what are those questions? What is the nature of beauty? What is it to have genuine knowledge? What makes an action virtuous or an assertion true? Such questions can be asked dash many specific domains with the result that there are whole fields dash to philosophy. Let's first solve till here. Such questions can be asked dash many specific domains. How do we use as far as? I saw one of you writing as far as the answer. As far as time is concerned, as far as you are concerned. That's how we use as far as. Means to the extent of something. Do we want to put such questions can be asked as far as many specific domains? No, you have to say as far as something is concerned, as far as something is in question. That's how we use as far as. The meaning of as regards is concerning. You can note it down because I've seen it in a number of questions now that we get as regards in the options. When you want to put concerning, then you can put as regards. With respect to is regarding. Regarding something is with respect to something. And relative comes with to. Relative to something. So here we'll say such questions can be asked regarding specific domains. So domains means fields. So you want to say there are many questions regarding different fields. And then with the result that there are whole fields, see here they simplified it for you. There are whole fields dash to the philosophy of art, to the philosophy of science, to ethics, to epistemology. So these were the different domains they were talking about. So there are whole fields dash to. So concentrated to, neglectful to, committing to, devoted to. The answer should be devoted. See, devoted means when you have a particular place, particular time, particular thing kept for a particular purpose. That is when we say devoted. So here they want to say there are whole fields, means we do have a lot of fields which are devoted to the philosophy of different philosophies. So particular some of the fields are devoted to philosophy of art, some fields are for the philosophy of science, some fields are for philosophy of other things. That is what devoted to means. And devoted comes with to. We don't need ing here because questions cannot be committing to philosophy of art. Committing is when you make a promise to someone, that is commitment. Neglectful is a negative word. There's no reason that we should be going for a negative word here. And concentrated, I think concentrated most of the times goes with the preposition in. Concentrated in. I don't feel it can go with to. Concentrated to doesn't make sense. It should be concentrated in. And the last one says the philosophy of mind is specifically concerned with quite general questions dash the nature of mental phenomena. So with questions we always say questions about a topic. Whatever can be the topic, but we always say questions about this thing. For example, so whenever we have a connector between two commas, you should read it in the beginning of the sentence. For example, what is the nature of thought, feeling, dash, consciousness, and sensory experience? So all these are abstract things. abstract things which are nouns. So we should also go with an abstract noun, a feeling, which is perception related to brain. So thought, feeling, consciousness, sensory experience match with perception. Perception means your interpretation of something, your viewpoint about something. That is your perception of things. Right? Approach is not something related to your brain. Apprehending is not a noun. Knowledge is something that we get from outside, but the other four options, they were not something to get from outside. They were some things that we feel inside our body. So that is why it should be a perception and not knowledge. The first one, concern goes with, connected will come with do. The second one, regarding various domains. Domains means fields. And now we are saying we have good whole domains which are related to, or related to here will mean which are devoted to, means which are specifically about these philosophies. So that will be devoted to. Questions are always about things. And the last one, we needed something which is related to feelings, abstract thing related to brain in our body. That is perception. Right? I'll show you the videos at the end of the class, those who haven't got it. Any confusions in these questions, anyone? All right, so here you have your question number 4. 2.5 minutes to post your answers for this one. I think there's a helping verb missing in the second sentence. I feel so because we don't have a helping verb. Dutch-born British physician and scientist Jan discovered that light is dashed for photosynthesis. This was something very obvious that we all know that light is necessary. We cannot say light is of needful for photosynthesis in any case. This observation, I feel there should be was here because we don't have helping verb. This observation means whatever he discovered that light is essential, necessary for photosynthesis. This observation was built upon work begun by English scientist Joseph Priestley. Means this observation, he had made this observation upon the work done by someone else. So that is the meaning of the sentence, and that is why we go with this observation was built upon the work done by another scientist. And this person, then we have the explanation of this person straight away. This person, who was he? Who had burned a candle in a closed container until the air within the container could no longer support combustion. So we had two different pieces of information here. One was referring to the previous statement, that where did this information, this observation come from. So this observation was built upon. Built upon is a collocation. If you want to say built upon means when you give the source, how did you get this thing? And the other options we have, we cannot say built in the work. Observations cannot be built in the work. You can make the observation from the work. You can make the observation upon a work. A built with also is not possible, and against is a negative word. Against this observation is opposite to the observation of someone else. That is when we can put against. This observation was built upon work begun by English scientists. Priestley then placed a sprig of mint plant in the container and discovered that after dash days, the mint had produced some substance. So after how many days? Several. A little goes with uncountable things. Much goes with uncountable things. And few means not many. Means it's a negative writing style. If you would have got a few in the options, then we can go with a few because a few means some. So a few is a positive writing style. We say a few students means some students. But if you put only few, that means not many. When you want to say it's not enough, not many. So here we don't want to go negative in the sentence. So it's better to go with several days because at least several is a positive writing style. After several days, the mint had produced some substance that enabled the confined air to again support combustion. Then Jan followed up on this work. So this sentence was a hint that he's not going against the work. He's just continuing the work that was started by someone else. So Jan followed up on this work by placing plants in a transparent container and submerging them in water. He noticed that little bubbles appeared on the undersides of the plant's leaves following dash to sunlight. So whenever you have additional information between two commas, you can always read it at the end of the sentence after the full stop. That will make it easier for you to understand the meaning of the sentence. So he noticed small bubbles on the sides of the leaves following dash to sunlight. Following disclosure is something was hidden and now you have disclosed it. Exposure to makes sense. Exposure to means coming in contact with. Danger is a negative word and we don't need demonstration. Following demonstration is explanation. So plants are not giving explanations to sunlight. Plant is exposed to sunlight. Exposed to means come in contact with. Bubbles eventually stopped being produced. So we have however, we should read it in the beginning of the sentence. However, bubbles eventually stopped being produced when the plants dash in the dark. So this is past story going on. Plants is plural, so we need a past thing here, which should match with plural noun. So are is present tense, has is present tense, are is again present tense, were is past, so only past option was D, when the plants were placed in the dark. So these are the answers. The first one, light is necessary for photosynthesis. This is a very common fact. And this observation came from means this observation was built upon the work of someone else. And then after several days, because few is a negative writing style when you want to say not many days. So we don't want to make the sentence negative, so we'll go with after several days, just like after some days. And then exposure to sunlight. Exposure to means come in contact with. The last one we needed past form of verb, and there was only one option, so actually no option. We'll go with plants were placed in the duck. Right? Is it all clear with everyone now? However is a connector. However does not represent past, present, or future. However can come in any tense. However means but. The last question for reading writing blanks, you have 2.5 minutes to put your answers for this one, please. Shall we start the discussion? So let's see, the first one says some geologists and other scientists might argue that the Holocene epoch, the interval in dash we currently reside. So the epoch actually means time period, age, era. That's when we use this word. The what is it? It's the interval in dash we currently reside. So interval can be referred to which, because whom is used for human beings, what is used for question mark things, and whose is also used to refer to human beings, but which is used for things, non-living things. So this era, this interval in which we currently reside, was designed to dash for the emergence of humanity as a force on Earth's landscape. So it was designed to dash for the emergence of humanity. With to comes a noun, first form of verb, and it should match with for, or it can be a collocation, obviously, always. Influence is a noun, creating for, associate comes with, associate with, not for. But yes, there is a collocation which means account for. Account always comes with for, accounting for, account for, any form of account. This was a collocation test here. So the onset nearly 12,000 years ago also had the convenience of coinciding with the ending of the most recent ice age. These scientists worry that plopping the upstart into the chart will cause problems in geological research, since many papers published classify emergent landscapes. They also worry that the apparent rush to declare the dash of a new interval might be a bit premature. So after the comes a noun, the dash of a new interval. The onset, arrival, starting, initial. Initial is the short forms, like we have Dear Doctor, that's an initial. Starting and arrival, both can be said onset in a better academic form. So onset can be understood as starting off or the arrival of. Any of the two things is possible, but onset is more academic, conveying the same meaning, so we'll go with the better academic word. Arguing that the real effects that humans are having on the planet will not be fully dashed for hundreds of years. So what is the noun here? Effects will not be dashed for hundreds of years. Can we say effects will not be aware? Effects cannot be aware. Human beings can be aware. Animals can be aware. Effects cannot be aware or unaware. Effects will not be familiar. So again, effects cannot become familiar in any case. We are left with common and known. So here the answer based on the context will be known, that we want to say that the damage, the effects that humans are having on the planet will not be known for hundreds of years. We cannot say will not be common. Means they will be rare effects. That's not the question. We are trying to say that for so many coming years, we will not even get to know how many effects that we humans are creating on the planet. Some proponents of formalizing this note that making the epoch real would support efforts to build greater awareness of the dash humans and their collective activities are doing on the planet. So after the comes a noun. So dash humans are doing on the planet. So what are humans doing on the planet? And some of you have written causes. Humans are doing causes on the planet. Humans are doing problems on the planet. Humans are doing effect on the planet, or humans are doing damage to the planet. So sometimes you will have to simplify the statement, because the way the statement is written is a bit complex form. So you just have to pick up the noun and match it with what the verb they are using, and then you can create a question that what are humans doing to the planet. So humans are doing damage to the planet. We don't use do with problems, we are doing problems. No, we are creating problems. And causes, again, we are doing causes, doesn't convey any meaning. So we are doing damage to the planet. Right, so these are the answers. The first one, we are referring to a time period, which is a thing. So we'll go with which, the interval in which. Account for is a collocation. Arrival and starting cannot be the answers. Yes, it is incorrect, because Onset is the right answer. So onset means both arrival or starting in a better academic form. Effects, we can say that we will not know the effects. We cannot say effects will not be familiar. So effects will not be known for so many years to come. And we are doing what to the planet? We are doing damage to the planet. Right? Isaac, try to get a bit 22, 23. Try to analyze that the 5 mistakes that you have made, which one out of them was the silliest, and you can definitely improve it, right? Even the 21 answers that you have got right, were they using the same methods that we are using? If not, then you still have a scope to improve your time by using the simple techniques. Okay, but anyhow, good attempt. Any confusions in this question, anyone? Right. Good, very good. 23 is a good score. So we are starting with reorders now. You have 2 minutes to post your answer for the first question. wasn't that tough that all of you have done it wrong. So you actually missed to note singular plural, and that is why the whole of your answer is wrong. The first sentence was, see whether said the San Antonio city government, which backed the Pekin companies, tried to downplay the strike in the local newspapers. That is the topic. Local newspapers, and they are referring to as, they blamed communist agitators and arrested this person. So here it was a clear hint that arrest, because in E, the police arrested hundreds of strikers. When you arrest hundreds of people, you cannot say arrest singular. It will be those arrests or these arrests, not these. It will be those arrests plural. That arrest means you're referring to one arrest. You're not referring to the rest of hundreds of people. So you can never ignore singular and plural things when you're looking for your answers. So then the fourth one was B, where they say soon the local law enforcement arrived in the companies where the workers were doing whatever, and then the police arrested hundreds of strikers and jailed them, because this is where they were striking. So the police came and arrested hundreds of strikers and jailed them in overcrowded conditions. So this A and D was very, very easy. That one person is arrested and you're referring and saying that arrest. And first of all, people will come. The law enforcement will come. Only then they will arrest somebody. Before coming, they cannot arrest someone. Right? So should have been a better attempt. Be more careful about singular, plural connectors. This, that, these, those. Let's look at the second one. 2 minutes and post your answers. Those who have written D as the first sentence, look at B and D together. B is just saying exploitation of rivers, right? And D is saying commercial navigation of rivers. What is broader? Exploitation of river or the way of exploitation of rivers? Exploitation of rivers is happening in so many ways. When the factories they discharge their chemicals and waste into rivers, that is also exploitation of rivers. When there is the chemicals that we add in agriculture in the crops, the sprays, the chemicals that we add, and then that soil gets added into the water, layering away of topsoil because of some natural calamities or something, that is also exploitation of rivers, right? So you have to go with the, if you're confused between two sentences, you have to ask yourself which can accommodate the other one. So here, commercial navigation of rivers is just one way of exploitation of rivers. That means this part is broader. That is when B comes first. The ever-increasing exploitation of rivers has given rise to a variety of problems. And we have so many problems because of exploitation of rivers. And the second sentence will always explain the first sentence in detail. That what is the exploitation first of all? Extensive commercial navigation of rivers. That is the exploitation. And variety of problems. What are the problems that we have got? Resulted in much artificial improvement of natural channels, including increasing the depth of the channels to permit passage of larger vessels. So these are the effects of this. And now there was a direct reference. Here you said increasing the depth of the channel. And here you said this lowering of river bottom. So this means you should talk about the lowering in just the previous sentence. So increasing the depth and lowering of the river bottom means the same. So they were referring to it that this lowering of river bottom has caused the water table of the surrounding area to drop, which has adversely affected agriculture. And then the second reason, also canalization with extensive system of locks and navigation dams often seriously disrupts riverine ecosystem. This was the second way we are exploiting rivers, right? So every connector which is there has a hint. Every reference, this, that, these, those, such, its, his, her, they, their, they are the easiest kind of reorders that you can get in the exam, right? So always wherever you see this, that, you should be happy that okay, I've got one pair at least, because this means you just have to talk about the same thing in the previous sentence, right? Like here it was increasing the depth. Increasing the depth means was lowering the river bottom. Both means the same thing. And then also means the second of something. So be a bit more careful when you are doing reorders which are actually easy. The third and the last one, 2 minutes, and then post your answers. Alright, should be done. The most general sentence is C. In temperate regions of the world, autumn is marked by the brightly colored foliage that slowly drops from trees and shrubs to carpet the ground. So, what can fall from trees and shrubs on the ground? Obviously, leaves. This is the introduction of the topic. And then there was a question, but why do some plants shed their leaves before winter? Because you just talked about leaves dropping down. Now you're saying, but why do they shed? The answer is, it turns out autumnal leaf drop is a form of self-protection. So the leaf drop is a form of self-protection, means this is a reason for leaf drop, that they want to protect themselves. And then fourth one was B, where they actually gave you, while evergreen plants in cold climates have thick waxes and resins to protect their leaves from freezing and fracturing, deciduous species have thin leaves that are susceptible to cold temperatures. So here they gave a comparison between evergreen plants and deciduous species. And then the explanation was only about deciduous species in number D, which is number 5. Since water expands when frozen, the tender leaves, tender means the thin ones, would rupture during the winter, making them useless for photosynthesis. This was the further explanation about the thin ones, because the evergreen means they always stay green, they don't fall. The explanation is about the deciduous ones which fall in the autumn season. Why are they falling was a basic topic. So they fall for self-protection because they're useless. They're thin. In the cold temperatures, they become useless. So that is why they are dropped by the tree or the shrub. So E and A should have been a pair, because the answer to the question was easy, that why do plants shed their leaves? The plants shed their leaves for self-protection. That was the answer. So E and A should have been a pair, and C should have been the first one, because that's just telling you that in temperate regions plants shed their leaves. There's no positivity, no negativity. That's the topic, that plants shed their leaves. So this was still comparatively bit difficult than 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 were very easy to tell. Okay, let's move on to reading blanks. So you have 2 minutes to post your answer for the first question of reading blanks. Make sure you're timing yourself, and then we will have the discussion. Bit confusing. I've got some confusing answers. When the sun is near the dash at dawn and dusk, the sun's rays strike the atmosphere at more oblique angles. So the position of the sun is either at the noon, it is at the near the equator, and dawn and dusk it is near the horizon. This is almost correct for all of you. And dash these rays must travel a dash distance through the atmosphere than they would at midday. So they are saying that the sun is near the horizon, and that's why, and dash these rays must travel. So here it was thus, means because of this position, they have to travel a dash distance than they would at midday. So than means we have to go with second form of verb. And there was only one second form of verb given to us, which was greater. So this was a bit long sentence, read blanks, but first and third ones were easy. As a result, there are more nitrogen and oxygen molecules and other particles that can block and scatter incoming sunlight. Dash this long passage, incoming radiation in the shorter blue and violet wavelengths is mostly filtered out. So what we have in capitals is meanwhile and during. But they are talking about when they have to pass through this long passage. So it should be during, because meanwhile goes with when we say and the same time. So here it will be during this passage, that when the rays are going through this passage. Incoming radiation in the shorter blue and violet wavelengths is mostly filtered out, and the influence of these wavelengths dash the color of the sky diminishes. This is wrong for most of you. So here the answer was over. That the influence of wavelengths over the color of sky means the influence of these wavelengths on the color the sky has. So the influence diminishes. The next sentence makes it bit clear about coloring. What remains are the longer wavelengths, and some of these rays strike dust and other particles near the horizon. Dash the wavelengths, dash the water droplets and make up the clouds to create red, orange, and yellow tint. So they were talking about influence on the color. So on is not given, that is why we are going with influence over the color of the sky. So here they said some of these rays, they strike the dust particles, dash the water droplets. So the rays strike both the things, anything that comes in its way, dust particles as well as water droplets. The rays strike with both the things, and that is why we see red, orange tints during sunrise and sunset. Right, so the first one was the positioning of the sun is near the equator, and that is why they have to travel longer distances. So because we just have to connect. They are saying when the sun is near the equator, the rays are slanting at oblique angles, slanted angles. So if it is near the equator, then it reaches the earth faster. When the rays of the sun are tilted, they take more time to reach the earth. So that was the connection here. When the sun is near the horizon, then it takes longer time. So then means does the rays travel a long distance, and they have to travel a greater distance than they would travel at midday. The fourth one, during the passage, means when they are coming during that time, during that passage, when they're covering that passage, the influence of the wavelengths on the color diminishes. And that is why in the end they say the rays, they strike the dust particles, the rays strike the water droplets. So both of the things they strike. That is why we're going with as well as water droplets. And then we see the yellow, orange, red color. Meanwhile means at the same time. Right? Any other confusion, anyone? So how do we come to know that we need a connector here? When you read the sentence and these rays must travel, it is complete. So we cannot go with adverb because we don't have any. So whenever the sentence is complete, we either go with adverb or connector. So there was only one option with us to go with the connector because there was no adverb given. Right? So question number 2, you have 2 minutes and then post your answers. Can we say snakes are infectious? What is the topic? Are we talking about infections here? When people talk, you are right in selecting when people talk about dangerous snakes like cobras, at least one person in the conversation will ask dash the snake is poisonous. So when we ask something, we ask it in the way whether is used to create a question in passive sentence without a question mark. Bolstered by medical references and haphazard mentions on television and elsewhere in the mass media. The phrase poisonous snake dash into our collective consciousness. The phrase is singular, so we can go with the phrase has been drilled because it's nothing about past tense. We are just talking about facts when people talk. So they talk about this thing. We always have this phrase on our head. So it's nothing past tense. So we'll go with has been drilled into our collective consciousness. But this phrase is not technically correct. Strictly speaking, most dangerous snakes are venomous. According to biologists, the term venomous is dashed to organisms that bite or inject their toxins. So with is comes ed form. The term is, it should be applied. Only one ed form is there. This means that very few snakes are truly poisonous because the topic is whether the snake is poisonous or not. Snakes don't pass on infections. So we cannot go with infectious. It's the topic is about they are venomous, they are poisonous or not. So we'll say very few snakes are truly poisonous. Any confusions, anyone? So talk about in the general collocation, we ask a question in passive sense with whether when we don't want to put a question mark. Third one has been will because there's no reason we should go in past tense. With is comes third form of verb. So this term is applied, the only past form, only third form we had. And the last one, because the topic is about poison, so we'll go with snakes are truly poisonous. Right? Any confusions, anybody? Okay, the third question, 2 minutes, and then post your answers, please. Okay, let's discuss. Just the first one is wrong for almost all of you. In 1907, 2 years after the publication of his theory of special relativity, Albert Einstein came to a key dash. See, key finding is a collocation, but we don't use the verb came with finding. You never come to a finding. The collocation with came to a conclusion. We don't have conclusion, but yes, we can go with realization, because that's also realizing something means finally you got something. You conclude, you are at a conclusion of something. But we don't use finding come with the verb come or came in any form. We don't come to findings, but yes, we come to conclusions. So that can be realization better. What is the realization? Special relativity could not be applied to gravity or to an object dash acceleration. This was simply based on context. We cannot apply relativity to any object which is undergoing acceleration. Undergoing means which is experiencing acceleration. They tried to explain this thing with an example. Imagine someone dash a closed room sitting on earth. So it will be inside. That was right for almost all of you. Imagine someone inside a closed room sitting on earth. That person can feel earth's gravitational field. Now put that same room out in space, far dash from the gravitational influence of any object. So that is far from. Can be far away or far from, whatever we have. Far from the gravitational influence of an object, and give it an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second. There would be no way for someone inside the room to dash whether what they were feeling was gravity or just uniform acceleration. So they cannot differentiate. But what we have is distinguish. Better form of differentiate only. So if we put that room in the space and we give it an acceleration just like the earth, no person can tell whether it is the earth's gravitation or we have intentionally moving it at a uniform speed. So this was a bit of context based question, particularly the first and the second blank. So the first one, came cannot come with finding, so that's why you should go with came to a realization, same as conclusion. The second one, special relativity could not be applied to gravity or to any object which is undergoing acceleration, which is already moving. So that's what the context tried to say. If you understand the example given after, then you will go with undergoing, means experiencing. So they say, imagine someone in a room sitting on the earth. That person can feel the gravitational field. But if you put that same room in the space, which is far from any gravitational influence, and we give it a acceleration of 9.8 meters, which is same like the earth's gravitational acceleration, that person will not be able to distinguish whether this is the earth one or you are giving this one specially. Not clear, Vamsi, if we can go this way. Because if you don't realize something, you will not publish it. But realize in the sense you don't have enough evidence, you don't have a proof for that thing, so you will not publish. So I feel this was a random thing to think about, but it's fine. In any ways, you got the right answer. Okay, let's look at the fourth and the last one. 2 minutes to post your answers for this. Good, well done. So there was some clear things. For dash of the 20th century, so for much of the 20th century, because we cannot count the 20th century, there are how many 20th century. So much means good part of 20th century. It was an open question whether the universe is open or closed, and whether the universe in the future dash to expand indefinitely or will eventually collapse. So whenever we're talking about future, we should go with will, because otherwise also they have already used it. So in the future will continue to expand or will eventually collapse back dash an extremely dense congested state. So this is collapsing into, collapsing back comes with collapse back into something. The mass in galaxies observed directly is estimated to be only a few percent of the amount required to close the universe. However, the dark matter that has been dashed from various dynamic arguments is about 23%. So with has been will come ed form. We have concluded and deduced. But can we say the dark matter that has been concluded? The dark matter is not a conclusion, it's a thing. So we should go with deduced. Deduced also has a synonym that is concluded or conclusion, but it is used in a different context, in a context of result. And when we talk about something that we have got from other things, that is when we use deduced. So here, like they said, the dark matter that we have got from various dynamic arguments, or whatever information we have got. So it will be the dark matter that has been deduced from various dynamic arguments is 23% of the universe, and dark energy supplies the dash amount. So it is 23%, so we'll get the remaining amount, which will bring the total to 100. Only then we can reach to 100, right? So these are the answers. Much of the 20th century, much means a good part of the, and then future will come with will continue, collapse back into some kind of state, any state, we will go with into the state. And matter has been deduced. Deduced means that we have got from, or we have reached from other sources. And then 23% is this remaining amount we get from dark energy, which totals it to 100% of the closure density. 17 is okay. If you're targeting 79, try to get 1 or 2 marks more. 18, 19 should be better, right? So we need past tense, and we cannot say dark matter has been concluded. We cannot conclude matter. So we'll go with dark matter has been deduced, which means got from. So these are all the questions that we had to do today. I hope it would have been helpful and you have noted down a lot of things. Much of the 20th century means a big part of the 20th century, most of the part of the 20th century. No, you don't really need to spend time on MCQs, be it whatever your band score requirements. For reading, don't spend time on MCQs. Right? So that's all for today. Those who want to leave, yes, you are free to. I'll just share my screen to show you where are the videos, those who have not got it. So this is when you will log in into your LA portal. This is the dashboard. So you just have to scroll down on the dashboard and you have to click on reading here. And when you click on reading, you will see 5 videos. The last 2 are the ones which you have to watch for your grammar. This says grammar tricks and shortcuts, and this says prepositions and connectors. So both of these are extremely very important for each one of you, no matter how good or bad you are in your reading. So these 2 videos are a must thing that you have to watch, and you have to take notes also when you are watching, so that you can refer to those notes time and again, because that will be required. You won't be able to cram everything in the one watch of the video. So you will need something to refer to again and again. Right? Thank you, Mandy. Thank you so much. It's all because of your cooperation and support that the class, I am able to conduct the class the way we conduct it. Right? Anything else before we leave?